Hi, thank you for a very nice introduction. I'm THEA SOGENBITS, and today I'm going to tell you about cybercrime as business, its value streams a bit, and business behind crime. At the moment, I'm working as a head of IT and Telecommunication department in Tallinn Polytechnical School, and I'm researching cybercrime in Estonian Business School. My research today focuses on loopholes. So if you have any questions about it, ask me later, not here at the moment. It would be very politically correct to talk about those loopholes today here at this presentation. So today we live in a world where it is very insecure. We know that every third confidence fraud is committed as an e-crime. Why every third? Why not all of them? Because there are still some countries where people talk actually with each other. They don't use different communication devices. They don't use computers to talk or commit frauds. They don't use telephones to commit frauds. Cybercrime at the moment outweighs of regular crimes. Cybercrime is profitable. It's really profitable for those who commit it, not for those actually who are being used during cybercrime. But that we know of, we have around 15 million identity tests. There are 15 million identities stolen annually. We live in a world of Internet of Things. We have there ad hominem attacks. We hear about them almost every day. If we don't hear, we read about them or we face them. Majority of our crimes that we see are hidden. Majority of those crimes are they're not reported. Why? Because quite several interesting things. One of the things is that people are ashamed. How can it happen? Did it really happen to me? If you go to police and say that, hey, my database was stolen, what happens? Police is going to listen to you, ask you how it was stolen. Probably they will say that, yes, I understand, you want to make an application about it, you want to report it, okay, but what else? And then there's the question, what else? Let me tell you a story of Thomas. I met him in 2013. He was a young guy. He was really enthusiastic about IT. But his life was mainly focused on computer games. In the morning, he wake up, started playing computer games. In the evening, he went to sleep. He was still playing computer games, I think even in his dreams. Last year, some of my friends told me that, hey, have you spoken to Thomas lately? Do you know what he's up to? Do you know what he's doing every day? Have you seen what kind of cool things he's having? About his iPad and about his different computers and phones and so on and so on. And as I knew his guy's background, we had talked already, something didn't add up. So I took a chance and I just let him know that I would like to meet him. We talked a lot. We talked several times. He told me about his new life he's living. It was a cool life. He was playing games. Every day he was playing games. But mostly they were not computer games anymore. They were real life games. He was going in places in a virtual world he would never go. He was going there with people who loved him, who actually listened to him, who cooperated with him. In a real life, when we met, he was so average that when you see him, you don't notice him. You don't look at him twice. But there he had companions. He had real life missions. He had guests. He had real guests. He had missions. He had achievements. And he got all kind of cool things when he won those games. In his mind, he was not a cybercriminal. He was a regular guy who was playing games. What kind of games? I'll tell you later. But when we are speaking about cybercriminals and cybercrime as such, I was looking for a definition for a cybercrime. Who is a cybercriminal? what is a cybercrime? And when we look at the definitions, we can't find unified definition about what is cybercrime. We can tell a lot about best practices of cybersecurity. We can tell a lot about all kind of different descriptions of cybercrime. But in a legal context, for example, in Estonia, in Russia, in the United States, if we want to define legally what is cybercrime, we can't find this word cybercrime. We know that we have cyber convention. There are lots of talks about cybercrime, but still it doesn't actually define it. It doesn't unify this definition. In different countries, we talk about different things. For example, we talk about computers. We talk about databases. We talk about database breaches. We talk about changing data in a database. But can we say unified in a global world that this is a cybercrime, this is cybercrime everywhere? Then it's no, it's not that. To come back to Thomas, his games that he was playing, they were everywhere. They were globally. We could say that looking more about those games, it was simulation of the DDoS attack. It was simulation of different frauds. It was simulation of different cybercrimes. For example, he copied some databases. He changed some data in the databases. He took down some home pages. He did all kinds of things. More we talked with him, he understood that things what he was doing was not a game. We analyzed all those things, what he was involved, and he finally understood that he's working for a company. He's working for a real existing company that actually recruits people like him without them knowing what they're doing and makes them do work for them. For example, copy some database, some credit card information, take down some home pages, something else, some systems, nothing special. And the whole mission was not one person based, it was like project based. It was different projects, part of projects that were divided between teams that were competing each other. They used gamification to motivate those people to work. Those people didn't understand what they are actually doing. If they won, they got the prize. Prize came by package to their home or to different places where they ordered those packages. But they never knew or understand that they are criminals, that they are working for somebody who is actually earning money from what they're doing. Cybercrime, we could compare it, those organizations, with startups. They actually have their own team. They have people they recruit. They have their ideas. They have their targets, perpetrators, customers. They have their own revenue streams. They have resources. They have business plan. They have actual business plan. They have actually very smartly organized teams. They have very smartly organized heads who are recruiting people. They know whom and where to recruit those people. And it's easy. It's really easy. The risk is moderate. Because we have internet, everything is simply there. And it doesn't cost much to have a startup. As we saw in those cases, with Thomas's case, he had very good ICT knowledge, but people in his teams, they were not always those who were IT guys. Some of them were script kiddies. They were just good at what they're doing, or not always good at on the ICT knowledge, but more on social knowledge. They knew how to use social media, how to find information there. They knew how to, for example, find people to recruit to their teams. It was very easy. To commit a cybercrime, you always don't need all those skills. You have a society that helps. It's a trend in the 21st century that we are helpful. We share our information. We share our company's information. We idolize Robin Hood, for example, white-collar crimes. All those young hackers who were bad guys and on one day they got recruited by IT companies. We think that cybercrime is victimless crime. If you copy somebody's database, you don't kill somebody. You don't cause any injuries to somebody. They can use crowdsourcing. We have this propaganda free software initiative. What do you think, why those guys were playing games and they didn't ask money for all those things that they did? Because they were thinking that everything in the world is free. All the code that they're writing is free. They didn't understand that actually if you do some work, you should ask money. They lived in a free software world. And they needed somebody who will tell them that they are the best. They needed somebody who say that, oh, Thomas, that's so cool what you're doing. It's like every man's opportunity if you look at the cybercrime or those organizations. To start this kind of business, you don't need to be a geek. You don't need to be a hacker. Being a geek or being a hacker is kind of subculture. It's not that about skills. We have all those people with high knowledge of ICT skills today in Nordic, in America, Russia, and so on, globally. If you need some information, just ask. You will get it. If you don't get it on one place, go another, ask, you still will get it. It is a society of trust. And if you're speaking about cybercrime and cybercriminal organizations and making deals with them, it is actually a society of trust. Because would you imagine a crime without trust? Would you imagine ordering some crime without trusting the person who will do it? If you don't trust them to do it, you won't order it. It's that simple. If you, for example, if you ask somebody to make a DDoS attack to your competitor, if it doesn't happen, where can you go and complain? Will you go to police and make a complaint about this person? Of course not. Most of people are not that stupid. All those emerging technologies, Internet of Things, everything is so open, everything is there. It's so attractive, it's so appealing to the cyber criminals. And the risk to get caught, it's so low. Do you know how many DDoS attacks we have per day? And how many people, how many organizations get caught for doing them? And of course the victims, they don't talk. They talk little. Why? Because if they start telling that, oh, my client database got lost, or in my bank, somebody stole all the credit card information, who would go and be a client, do any deals with this bank? They can't. They try not to talk about it. And so, most people who are cybercriminals or thinking about becoming cybercriminals think that it's so easy to do it. You need an idea, then there's this big X, and all the money comes. What's inside the X? They don't think about it. They don't understand it. Actually, what is inside that X is this big business that is very smartly organized. People who have good education, people who knew what they're doing. They are gathering good profits later. They have opportunity to do it. They have a good business plan. They understand the market. They understand the legal environment. They understand which crimes from which country they can commit, from where they can't. They have all the resources and supply chains. They manage the risks. It's a quality management, what they actually do. So what happens? Usually, if there's a crime, there is a gain. Most of the cybercrimes, what we see today, doesn't go without somebody getting money from it out. Even if it's not exactly the person or the organization who is committing it, somebody somewhere else will get the profit. When we speak about Thomas didn't actually get the profit. He just got the prize. He wasn't realizing that he's committing cybercrime. He was just there. He wasn't part of the revenue stream. He wasn't part of this revenue stream of the cybercrime. Part of this revenue stream was somebody else. It was an organization. Organization was the one who got the revenue. What can we do? We should understand that crime is business as any other. Same is with cybercrime. It is a business as any other. We as researchers, we as companies, we should understand that there are risks. We have to deal with risk management. We have to understand how those people or those other organizations think, what they do, how they do it, and where are the loopholes for them. What is the ground they are actually working on? We should understand that crime is very appealing for them, but it's appealing until it's more profitable than the usual legal business. If the usual legal business is more profitable, there's no need to be a criminal. If there's opportunity to do the same money legally, there is no need to be a criminal. Life is not so black and white when we are speaking about cybercrime. Even the meaning of fraud may vary in different countries, in different societies. For example, in some societies we say that asking somebody some money for nothing, for example, Nigerian letters, it's a fraud. But in other countries we are saying that, oh, those guys just don't have a license for psychological help, or those guys just don't have their price list up there. It's just the companionship that they're offering. But there are societies, there are countries where are saying that it's not something we approve. It is something we should fight. It is something we should talk more about to make people understand all the threats that are out there. We have a question about ethics. We have a question about legality. When we are subcontracting somebody, we always don't know what they are doing with our work. For example, with same those love romances and Nigerian letters, these letters look professional. Those who actually make the design for the letters, or those who check the wording of the letters, are they criminals? Do they even know what they're doing? Do they understand it's being a part of a cybercriminal organization? Are they part of cybercriminal organization? Can they always understand that what's inside this letter is something that is going to use to commit a fraud later? And of course, all those technical participants, those hackers, those regular helpful people who answer the questions or who do the deed, they don't always know what they're doing. When we are talking about cybercrime and cybercriminals, it's not always so black and white. Thank you.
Wow. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. A question already. Yes. Wait a second, please. I'm going to have to give you a microphone because there are live viewers as well.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions to ask you. So, first of all, would be the question about the sources. So, when you are doing the research, where from do you usually collect the data about the cybercrime? And do you study the darknet? So, it's my first question. And the second question would be about some company that became the victim of the cybercrime. So let's imagine that the company database has been compromised. So as a result, it has been published somewhere on the internet, or probably it could be sold somewhere. So, and what is your advice? What are general recommendations on behavior? So, how the company should deal with that issue? So, how to remove the data from publishing? So, especially if there is no chance to get involved the authorities like the police and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a really long question. So I start from the beginning. How do I get the information? How do I get the materials? First of all, everything is open there in the internet. Go, search, look, you see, you find it yourself. It's not that difficult. Second, listen what people are speaking about, who they're speaking about. Look at the patterns. Look at the chains that you see in society with people, and you get to the source. About the companies, what to do? Start with risk management. It would be first thing to do is that understand that is going on today in the society and start with your own risk management. Cooperate with police, cooperate with different agencies. We can talk about cooperation and we can talk about protecting ourselves.
One more question, or did it reply to your question, or you should additionally ask something, or? No, we have time actually, because you're really in a good pace, you know. So that's why if there's anything, just feel free. So another question here.
Thank you, very interesting, Ivars. How do you predict the landscape of the cybercrime industry to develop in the next 5 years or so?
Thank you. Predicting is not my best side. I'm a researcher. I look what is going on at the moment, I describe it, I make my conclusions. But what I think that we should cooperate more. We should find more definitions. We should make unified understanding of what is cybercrime, how should we protect, how should we cooperate. We should find this common way to go on with things.
Okay, so any other question maybe from you, Professor, or from any the colleague over there?
Thank you. How do you think in the future will the cyber startup, as you have described at the beginning of the presentation, the cyber crime startup, will these still be common, and is there really a way to stop them, or will they grow more, or will they decrease, and is it even possible to completely stop them so that they don't, so that they aren't so common?
Thank you for your question. Stopping them, it of course starts with the revenue. What is more profitable, to do a cybercrime or to do a legal business? If legal business is more profitable, of course we do legal business. People won't go and start committing cybercrime. About startups, if it is a cybercrime or if it's not cybercrime, it's actually defined by legislation. It depends on a law. For example, if you do something and it is described as a crime and it is a cybercrime, then you start cybercrime business if you do it in a profit matter or you are expecting some profit from it. But to stop it, it depends on the legislation. Again, we have to look at the legislation. We have to understand what is we want to stop and what is we want to legalize. It's not always so black and white.
Any other questions? We still have 2 minutes. Take it full.
Okay, a controversial question again. In your answer, I think that to somebody you mentioned that we should start from risk management. That's what I also myself advise when I advise industry or businesses of where to start from. But there is an argument that I would like you to comment on. How can we manage risks that we don't even know about? And what I mean is there are black swans, and these are increasing every day. with increasing technology, both good and bad technology, if we can make that distinction. So again, the question is if you can give me arguments of how can we manage risks that we don't even know they exist.
Thank you. It is a really good question. How do we manage risks that we even don't know exist? We can predict future, but we can also listen what researchers are saying. What are the trends today? We can think like criminals. For example, if we as researchers or law enforcement agencies or companies think that if they were cyber criminals, well, how would they use the situation today? What would they do? If they could imagine those risks, they can start by protecting themselves or thinking about ways how to protect themselves.